We are in a new series. It is called I Am. And Jesus made some incredible statements about himself. He says that I am the good shepherd. And what Jesus is basically saying, and we talked about this last week, is that Jesus said, I am the best pastor you will ever have. Not Pastor T, not T.D. Jakes, not Mike Tide. That he is the best pastor ever. And so he makes this like a normal, like with his chest out. He said it with his chest. He says these statements with his chest, that I am the good shepherd. Well, this week we are talking about Jesus has the audacity. What? To say that I am the light of the entire world. Not Charlotte. Right? Not home. But the entire world. How big is the world? How many miles across is the diameter of the world? Yell it out. Right. I don't know either. But it's huge. But Jesus says that he is the light of the entire world. And that is what we are going to talk about this morning. What does this even mean that Jesus says that he is the light of the world? Well, so whenever we think of light, what do we think about? We're all thinking it. Let's say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. We are not all thinking the same thing. I need you all to just be thinking what I'm thinking. All right? No, it is the sun. So whenever we think of light, we think of the sun. Right? And I was, and I love to look at facts and stuff. So I was looking at, like facts about the sun. We know that it like radiates light and it brings heat. I love summers. How many of you love summers too? It gives us solar energy, which makes it possible for life to exist on Earth. Plants need sunlight to grow. Animals, including humans, need plants for food and oxygen. And so I was like, how bright is the sun? Did you know the sun is 27 million degrees Fahrenheit? Million degrees Fahrenheit. And it is 109 times wider than the earth. Imagine that. And Jesus says, I am better than that. That bright thing that you can't look at with your eyes, I am him. I am better than that sun. I am actually the light of the world. You think it's the sun, but it actually me. The sun gives the world light, but it's not the light of the world. Jesus makes this claim. He said that he is the light of the world. In John chapter 8, verse 12, Jesus spoke to the people. And he said, once more, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness, because you will have the light that leads you. It is no coincidence that the very thing that brings life to this earth, the sun, represents the true source of light that gives life to our lives. That is Jesus. So I want to talk about 4 ways the sun represents the true source of light. So we will be having a little bit of Bible study here, So we're going to hop around to about 50 different scriptures. So bear with me as I navigate through this. So we are talking about 4 ways the sun represents the true source of light. Let's talk about the sun, right, for a little bit. Number 1. You can write this down. Light exposes what can bring harm. So light exposes what can bring harm. Whenever we walk into a dark room, what do? Oh, so we do this motion. So we walk in a dark room and we're like, oh yeah, there's the light. And we turn the light on. And how many of you have handprints all around your light? That's me. You just got just prints all around because I'm looking for the light. So whenever we walk into the room, we turn the light on. Why do we do that? So we can see, and so nothing harms us. Whether it could be a person lurking in the room, toys on the floor, things on the floor, the first thing we do is turn the light on so we know what is around us. It exposes what can bring harm. That's the first thing that light does. So whenever the sun rises in the morning, the first thing that it does is that it touches things. As the sun rises, it should start touching. It starts touching things. And so if we take this plant concept, when the sun rises, it touches the plant first. Before anything else happens, it touches the plant first. And so light, hear me, light exposes all things, and you are not exempt from that. Light exposes all things, and you are not exempt from that. You can't run from the sun. We do this in the summer, we try, but you can't run from the sun. It touches you. And so as we look, where is this found in the Bible? So we are looking at John chapter 8. At the beginning of John, there's this woman who is caught in adultery. And so the town people take her and they deliver her to Jesus. They said, here, she has been cheating on people. So what do we do? They were testing Jesus. And Jesus then bends down and starts writing in the dirt with his finger. We all know the story. He starts writing in the dirt with his finger. And then the people who delivered her to Jesus says, whoever does not sin, cast the first stone. If you don't sin, then just throw a rock at her. They were going to stone her, but. And then he kneels down and starts writing. And one by one, everyone leaves. One by one, everyone leaves. And then Jesus says this, did anyone condemn you? And she says, no, Lord. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. Here is what happened. They wanted to expose her. The people wanted to expose her, but guess what? You're not exempt from the light. They got exposed too. They were attempting to hide in the dark, but they were standing beside Jesus, who is the light of the world. And all were exposed. And so they saw maybe what he was writing, I don't know, and they was like, ooh, yeah, no, I'm good. And they left. And then next happened is John 8 and 12. And Jesus responded, and he tells them, like in light of what just happened, he says that I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness because you will have the light that leads you. He was saying to this woman and everyone else, you don't have to hide. I am the light. You will have nothing to hide. Don't walk in darkness. Light exposes what can bring harm. And so we think and we know that light is what we all need. But somehow when we encounter it, our first instinct is that it's going to hurt us. Like this word being exposed is a scary thing. Like that it brings hurt and pain. But in reality, the light is what saves and brings us light. Light exposes what can bring harm. Number 2, this is what light does. Light gives life to the dead places. Life gives light to the dead places. Now we are in John 1. John 1 verse 4 says this: in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So back to my little plant that I have. I'm going to call it a flower. What's the name of a flower? Just a beautiful flower. Yell it out. Oh, yeah, duh, rose. A rose. I have this rose. The sun has now touched the rose. Now, the rose needs light. And the rose blossoms because of the light. It brings light. It gives life to the dead places. Did you know that a plant doesn't die from the amount of light that it gets? It dies from the heat that it gets. We think that too much light kills us. No, it does not. Heat from the sun is what kills the plant. We can never have too much light. And if you think of a room and you walk into a pitch dark room, have you ever lit a lighter or a match? Like a flame this big. And what does it do to the room? For some reason, that little flame overtakes the entire room. Jesus is the light that gives life. Jesus, hear me. Jesus is the light that gives life. We can only bring it. We can only bring the light. We are not the source of light, which brings me to point 3, that light gives our life energy. What does this mean? Now we are in John 1, verse 6. It says, there was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He, John, a human, a man, was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. And verse 9 says, the true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. Here is the thing that maybe some of us don't want to hear, but you are not the light. We go around saying this phrase, hey, shine your light. Be a light. Be the light that is in you. But you are not the light. You are a light. You are a light. You are not the light. Jesus is the light. Here's light. And like, for example, I can't stand over a plant as if I'm the sun and that says, get these rays. Get them so you can blossom. I can't stand over my rose and say, get these rays. I am not the light. I'm black. I am not the light. I absorb it and get darker, but I absorb it. I am not the light, neither are you, but what we can do is carry the rose to the light. And that is our mission on this earth, is to carry the light, that we carry the people to the light with our light. We are not the light, we are a light. We are a light. And number 4, light gives us purpose. Light gives us purpose. Purpose. If Jesus is in you, you carry the light. Matthew 5 and 14 says this, that you are the light of the world. Now he says that you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You are not the light, but you are a light. So don't dim it. Do not dim your light for anyone. Here's another way of saying it. It matters how you show up. If you are known for a person, if you are known just to be that person who loves Jesus, so, oh man, look at that like church person, religious person over there. And you claim to follow Jesus. Why do we walk in rooms with our light dim? Why do we walk in rooms with our head down? Is it that you are dimming your light? What dims your light? Yeah, anxiety, worrying about things, not showing up as your full self, afraid that no one will accept you like you are, being afraid of being judged. It matters how I show up. I learned that. It matters how I show up for my family. It matters how I show up in this space. It matters how I show up in meetings. Because I carry a light, the light of Jesus. And if I want him just to be known and glorified and met, then I should not dim that light. And that is my hope for you. So, how do we be a light? Let's get to the practical things. How do we be a light? All right. Number one, if Jesus is the light, then he got light from his Father. So God is the light. And because we can't make the light, we can only carry it. What do? We spend time with God. It is simple. I can literally end all of my sermons with this: spend time with God. Literally. That's it. Spend time with God. Because it doesn't matter what you have done, what you're doing, where you're at in life, the more time you spend with God, the more you will become closer to him and be the person he wants you to do. We do this thing of attempting on our own strength to be something different. What if we ask God and just spend time with him? Just don't even make an effort. Just spend time with him and see what happens. If he is the light and we are light carriers, then we need to spend time with God. Number two, be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. Another way of putting this is don't walk in darkness. There are some of us in here struggling, addicted to things that no one knows about. There are people in this room that are ashamed of something about themselves. And yet we hold this weight that we live with, this secret that we live with. But let me tell you, we are all about safe spaces here. But if you find a person that is trustworthy and say, hey, I want to be vulnerable with you. This is actually called like the art of confession. Whenever you say these things, you feel lighter. Whenever you share this burden, whenever you share this secret in a safe space, you feel lighter. It gets exposed to the light. And you feel better. And so be vulnerable. We are all about that here at UCity. Be your unpolished and unprocessed self in real time. And if you scare people away, they're not for you. You just keep scaring people until one stays. I think that's what women do in dating. But anyway, no, I'm joking. But be vulnerable. It is healthy. It is helpful. Number 3, be unapologetically kind. This is how you spread your light. It is simple. Be nice. And not just when you feel like it. Be nice when you don't feel like it, too. Be kind to your friends, your spouse, your homies, your community. A random person. Be kind. You have no idea what your kindness does. I met this person named John in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. Is anyone here from Birmingham, Alabama? Good, because I can pick. Man, that place is tough. That is a tough place to live. Man. And I met this guy named John. Let's show him John, Faith. So we were at this conference. Now, you see, in more than one way, this guy is probably looks the furthest from me. I am a younger black man. He is an older white man who stays. I stay in the city. He stays literally off the grid. This is the guy that has conspiracy theories. It's fun to hear. And he was sharing stories about how the FBI is constantly tracking people, murderers, by his house. He loves it. He goes fishing every day. And the lake is literally 20 feet out his door. And he fishes and he loves it. Let me tell you, he saw me and we locked eyes and he grabbed me and hugged me as if he knew me all of my life. And he says, it's good to see you. I love you. And I was like, what is this? So we started sharing stories. So we started sharing, and he started sharing about his life, man, and he got some stories. And then the next day, I made sure that I walked, and this is at the conference. It's day 2 of the conference. I walked in the same door, same reaction. This time he calls me by my name, grabs me, embraces me, and said, I love you, man. This is a treat to see you again. And so we stand and talk more. We chit chat and we talk. And I'm like, man, this dude is making my day. Day 3, we went just to go get coffee and walk past the door. John sees me walking past the door, comes out and chases me. And said, were you not going to say hey? I said, John, you know I'm coming to see you, bro. And guess what John does? Embraces me and says, I love you, man. I said, I know, bro, but I'm going to be there in like 5 minutes. You hug me like you will never see me again. And he says, if this is the last time I see you, I love you. So we go and get our coffee, come back. I was like, no, we got to make sure we walk in the same door because I need to see John. And again, it is like John has never seen me before in my life. And he hugs me. It's like, Terrell, it is so good to see you. I said, hey, man, you just saw me 5 minutes ago. But I can tell that every single one of his words were genuine, that he was not lying. He was not putting on. That type of kindness only comes from Jesus. Only comes from Jesus. When you don't have to fake it, when people are like, I can't believe this is real, It only comes from spending time with God. It only comes from knowing how God loves you. So that you can imagine if John does this. What about God? Every time he sees you, I love you, man, as if you didn't tell me 5 minutes ago. Then you go back to him, hey, I love you. I love you. Listen, we got a ton of information. We learned a lot, but do you know what I walked away with? Of all this information is to be kind. Because of John. That was the most impactful thing that happened to me this week. Met hundreds of people, seen thousands of people, but John, simply because of his intentionality with his kindness, was memorable. I have caught myself doing that recently. Hey, so how are you doing? Well, and they're like, hey, yeah, but and you wouldn't know because you kept walking. I was being fake. Right? It is, hey, let me stop and say, how are you doing? And when you stop, you better have the time. Because there's nothing worse than a person says, hey, how are you doing? And then they start talking, and then you start looking past them. Yeah, okay, yeah, great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, love you. Yeah. No. I'm guilty of that too. What are we in a rush to? Are we too much in a rush to be kind to people? If you don't leave with anything, that your light, the best way you can carry your light and to spread your light is to be overly generous and kind. So much so that it shocks everybody you meet. So much so that people may call you weird. Be kind. If Jesus says that I am the light of the world, then what do I know? I know that my true source of life can never be extinguished. If Jesus is the light of the world, I get my life from his light, just like the sun. The sun can blow up and we're doomed. But if you have the light of Jesus, it is the true source of life, and it can never be extinguished. So I want to do a share challenge. We do these things called share challenge. It's shared because we all should do it. It's a challenge because, it may be a little difficult, but I want to ask you, and I need you to write this down. If he says that I am the light of the world, then I know what? Make it personal. If he says that I am the light of the world, then I know what? If he's the light of the world, I know that I don't have to walk in darkness. I don't have to fear darkness. Because if I carry the light, then I can walk in darkness and not fear. The light gives our life energy. His light gives us purpose. His light gives life to all of the dead places. And his light exposes what can bring harm. Let's stand.